welcome back to Sweet Science Boxing and MMA here in Hawthorne, California. I'm Chris, your boxing enthusiast, and with me, as always, is professional boxing coach and insider, creator, owner of Sweet Science Boxing and MMA, and birthday boy.
Yeah, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday, coach.
Thanks, appreciate it. 38.
38 today.
Yeah, I'm still alive, thank God.
Of
38.
course.
I didn't think I'd make it this far.
No?
No, I don't know.
You're looking like you're in good shape.
Trying to get back in shape.
You're the coach, man.
Yeah, I gotta be in shape. Chase these guys around.
Chasing these guys around. Well,
I actually sparred on Saturday a little
did?
bit. Yeah.
You
Well,
did?
I wasn't supposed to, but I did.
You did a little bit of sparring, huh?
Yeah, that was fun.
How'd you do?
I got tired after 2 rounds.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's about how I think I would make it like a solid 1.5. When I first came back, that was I don't know if you remember, but I made the comment, I'll spar anybody for 1 round.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody.
Anybody, I'll give it to you for 1 round.
Yeah. 3 minutes, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's it. But I am aware that there is a PBC FS1 event that's on right now. It is, in fact, the event that was supposed to be headlined by Victor Ortiz and John Molina this afternoon. And due to an unfortunate series of circumstances, that fight was canceled as a result of rape allegations that led to the arrest of Victor Ortiz recently. So what do you think? I don't know. I'm not even sure where to start with that.
Yeah, that's huge. The news is very shocking.
On fight week.
Yeah. That was a fight we talked about before. I was anticipating watching it because that would have been a great fight. I think it would have been a war.
I was very much looking forward to the fight, and I think when we spoke about it before, one of the comments that I had made was that Victor Ortiz has a reputation in boxing for various reasons of being someone without heart, I guess.
Questionable character in the ring.
And I think of questionable character in the ring, and now we have reason to believe that possibly he has questionable character outside the ring as well, and I think that came as a shock to boxing fans and is elevated by the fact that it happened to occur on fight week for a fight that I think many of us happen to be looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean it's mind-boggling because he's a pretty relevant figure in boxing. He gets his name out there a lot. He's done movies. He's fought Floyd Mayweather, and he's maybe on the end of his career, but he was still having some good fights. He fought Devin Alexander not too long ago,
Yeah,
and then
Devin Alexander.
and then this fight with Molina would have been, I'm pretty sure it would have been fireworks. But yeah, that's he's had an odd career where when he was headbutting Mayweather and then he gets kind of sucker punched, but he kind of deserved it, and then he's quit on fights. It's just, it was a big shock, but it wasn't super surprising, and I don't want to sound like callous or cold towards Victor Ortiz, but just he's made some bad decisions, and if the allegations are true, it's it's just terrible.
Yeah, of course. Our hearts go out to the victims and to John Molina, to the fans, right? I mean, look at that. Even John Molina, obviously, he wouldn't suffer as much as someone who experienced that.
Yeah.
But you can see that the repercussions affect John Molina. He went through a full training camp. He was ready to do battle. The fans who bought tickets to see the fight in Ontario. So just a lot of really negative things, and I think in some respects because it's local here.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen him around.
Well, I saw him barely 2 weeks ago at the National POW, which was in Oxnard, and he was there every day with his wife or girlfriend and their kid. I think they have maybe like a newborn, maybe 6 months, and he seemed happy. He seemed in good spirits. So that I was totally blindsided by that news, and it's just it's just real disappointing because he keeps getting chances, and he kept getting chances to, stay in the ring, earn some money. And, the interesting thing, when we were at the Mikey Garcia fight, he got booed when the camera was on him.
He was, yeah.
He got booed, everybody was booing him. And, I don't think we'll see him ringside ever again, to be honest with you. I mean, even if it comes out that he's not guilty or he gets a lesser charge, I think he's done.
Yeah, I think even that was one of the comments when we went to see Mikey Garcia that I made, that I understood the boos for some of the other fighters. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I said, and I was surprised by the amount of negative reaction or reception that Victor had received in that fight. And obviously, I'm not even sure what to say, really. It's
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him around.
Yeah, if it's true, it's deplorable.
Even if
it's despicable.
Even if it comes out that he's not guilty, for some reason I just think that he's done.
You won't see him fight again, certainly.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's just the allegations. If he beats the rap, then I think he needs to gather himself and then count how much money he has left in the bank and maybe disappear and try to live a nice life somewhere. But I can't see anybody wanting to. In this day and age, just the allegation is enough to just have a whole side of people hate you.
Yeah, not to say that that it's true or not true. Obviously, there is enough there that I think this investigation has been going on since March, or something like that. So the allegation actually stems from an incident that occurred back in March. Yeah. And the investigation apparently led to enough evidence to actually issue a warrant for his arrest.
I thought it was a joke. I saw somebody post on Instagram about it, and I was like, this got to be a joke, right? Somebody's making a meme because they said that does this count as quitting? And I was like,
oh man.
And
yeah.
I was like, what happened? This got to be a joke,
right?
Kind of
too soon, yeah.
This got to be a joke, but like an hour later, then it was everywhere, and I was like, man, that's unreal, And I don't think anything this harsh has happened to an active fighter in a long time. I can't remember. I know, Mayweather went through some problems, and
Edwin Valero was probably.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Edwin Valero.
Yeah,
was, I think, another one of those incidents where you have someone who, well, in this case, Edwin Valero is a little bit different because he's a supremely talented fighter, sort of on the up and up.
Wasn't he undefeated?
Yeah,
it's like 42 and
he's kind of on the way up.
Oh
when that occurred. So I think that's sort of the last instance that I would say I was taken aback in the same way.
Yeah, and his was somewhat of a escalation because I think he got arrested for beating his wife.
And then he was being watched by the police even when this occurred. Yeah.
And then he got arrested for murdering his wife.
Yeah.
And then he killed himself in jail. So it was pretty crazy, but unfortunate for boxing fans, and just a sad incident that
it's unfortunate all the way around.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, for everybody.
There's no good coming out of it in any way. So.
Yeah. So that happened this week.
Yeah, I would say that some of the fights that happened this week, unfortunately, though there was some good action, were just overshadowed by some stories in the news, and that was one. I think another story that occurred this week that I've seen mixed reactions on is the retirement of HBO boxing. So HBO, after 45 years in the boxing game, has decided not to continue to pursue boxing events in 2019. Their last event scheduled is in 2018, the Danny Jacobs fight.
I think that's on the 27th.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but that's the last scheduled HBO event, and beyond that, there will be no more boxing on HBO. And they have retained, I think, Jim Lampley, perhaps to continue to do episodes of the Fight Game or something like that.
Yeah, I just saw that.
But the other commentators and they will be let go, and this is something that I don't know about you, but I felt like it was easy to predict, but still difficult to believe.
Yeah. Well, I think you could see their decline in terms of popularity, in terms of subscribers. I think there's nothing really compelling you to hold on to HBO as far as a subscription or, other than Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
As far as their boxing, it's not
Westworld, man.
Well, I saw the first episode. That's about it. But you got Showtime doing big things, ESPN doing big things, the DAZN doing big things, and you didn't really hear anything from HBO. And I think there was a steady decline, and this year you could really not so much see it but feel it. And you know what's funny? Remember I said that the Canelo Triple G fight, those guys seemed like they didn't have any chemistry. Like they just seemed like.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it was because there was a delay.
There was the 90-minute filler period where they have to come up with content for that period of time.
Something makes me think, like in hindsight, like, man, did somebody break the news to them that day?
But I will say that even that, having a 90-minute filler period where you're just having to sort of fill that time with people talking boxing is not a well-planned event. It seems like you should have showed something from the untelevised undercard or had a plan for rerunning different fights or doing something like that.
What used to be the premier boxing network became second rate, amongst all the other players.
And I will say personally, and I see a lot of cases of individuals sort of attacking the commentary and the quality of those productions, and I think whatever your feelings are about Jim Lampley or Max Kellerman, it's just an organization. It's an entity that has been part of boxing for the last 45 years, and some of the greatest fights and pay-per-views
great
that have
memories,
occurred.
man.
Yeah, so despite what you feel about them now, there's a lot of fond memories that I have of HBO events, and I think you could see it coming because of, for instance, when they didn't show interest in the Kovalev rematch. Remember we brought that up on the show?
I thought that was like the writing on the wall for me.
Yeah, so we were like why wouldn't they do that, right? And
they
so
don't
I think
spend any more money.
Yeah, and I think that the writing was on the wall, but still I still feel sad in some way.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because we and a lot of other people grew up with HBO boxing.
Yeah, exactly.
We grew up with it, and I think before you got Showtime or ESPN, HBO was the channel.
Yeah, and I think
the movie channel.
This has happened before. It's happened with
ABC, Wide World of Sports.
Yeah, it's
different things. Yeah,
even in boxing, Forum Boxing, Fight Night at the Forum.
Every Wednesday.
When they stopped. Yeah, exactly. When they stopped doing that, the Fight Night on USA, which was Tuesday, right?
Was it that with Sean O'Grady or one of those guys?
I think so, but that was on Tuesdays, right?
Yeah, those were good.
On USA. So there's always these sort of staples of the sport that outlive their usefulness, and HBO is one of those at this point. But I'm curious to see what happens with a number of these people such as Harold Letterman. I don't imagine that you'll see a lot of Harold Letterman after this.
Why can't all the other organizations have I don't know. I know Showtime's got their group locked down pretty good.
Yeah.
But as far as ESPN and maybe Eddie Hearn, his group, maybe they'll pick up
DAZN,
Kellerman or any of the other guys. I don't know. Lampley's called some pretty amazing fights over the years, but I don't know if it's his enthusiasm that has declined or if it's the chemistry with the guys. I thought it was, when they had Emmanuel Stewart, Larry Merchant, and Jim Lampley, I thought it was good because Emmanuel Stewart was a real boxing expert. He was a coach, cornerman, trained the most champions ever. So that's a perfect person to have. He didn't take the blows like the blows to the head like some of the pro boxers, so he was a little bit quicker as far as the commentary. And then Larry Merchant always added a lot of flavor. As far as my memories for HBO boxing, it's going to include those guys right there. Maybe a little bit of George Foreman.
George Foreman, yeah,
definitely
George Foreman.
But Larry Merchant, he always got into it with pretty much everybody, so that was fun.
I had this thought earlier today on my way back from the fights in India where I was curious if. So Larry Merchant had the run-in with Floyd Mayweather that ultimately resulted in Floyd Mayweather.
The famous
leaving,
line, right?
Yeah.
Which is,
if I was younger, I would kick your ass. Is basically what Larry Merchant said.
Oh, but what did Floyd say?
What did he say?
You don't know shit about boxing.
Oh yeah, that's right, that's right. I remember Larry's.
They're
line
both
more.
famous lines, right?
Yeah,
they're
both
of
famous
them.
lines. But
fun.
you can say that ultimately that led to Floyd departing HBO and going to Showtime. So that was the end of Floyd's HBO career, and from that point forward, he went to Showtime. And you could make a case that if Floyd had spent the remainder of his career on HBO doing the mega fights on HBO, that we may still have HBO boxing today because of the amount of draw that Floyd brings to the sport. That was a big boost for Showtime, getting Floyd.
Yeah.
Right? So back then, when Floyd was on HBO, I would say it was advantage HBO, and Showtime was kind of a lesser entity. And then when Floyd left, it kind of switched. And in some ways, I look at that and go, that event was just an extremely negative event. That interaction between Larry Merchant and Floyd Mayweather cost so much. And I'm not blaming Larry Merchant or Floyd Mayweather for the fall of HBO, but it's certainly, I think, one of those moments where you can see they reach the pinnacle, and that moment starts really a curve downward for HBO.
Yeah, well, I mean, it totally could have motivated Floyd to just look for other avenues for him. But I think at the end of the day, it's business, and HBO has to think it's an investment. Do we give Floyd the money? Do we make an offer that for what he wants to keep him on there and to keep getting viewers for boxing, or do we let him go and try to do it on our own? And most promoters and most networks, they do need that big name to sell the shows. But I think Showtime offered him just like ungodly amount of money.
It was the right move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right move for them. I mean, it elevated their network.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Like
level. maybe the business model for HBO over the years changed, and so then it wasn't worth it for them to really invest that much money in boxing. And then as other entities come around and kind of chip away at the market share, they're kind of weighing things out. So it's just it's a little disappointing. It's always good to have another channel that has boxing, but yeah, I mean, what can you do? Like I said, maybe they're making more money like with Game of Thrones and Westworld and all these other shows.
That's what their subscribers are tuning in for at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
So unfortunate series of events, but I would say those are two stories in the news this week that kind of overshadowed some of.
Dude, boxing got hit. Boxing got hit below the belt twice.
Yeah,
kind of.
And there was also, I'm not sure if you read the whole thing about Billy Joe Saunders.
Oh man, that's even worse, dude.
But it looks like he's going to be able to compete.
Oh really?
Yeah.
But
there are two things that happened with Billy Joe Saunders. One of them was last week, and then the positive test this week.
Yeah, well, I read that the substance that he got busted for was like way worse than clenbuterol. That's the big thing that everybody's saying. It's more potent, or it's just like a lot stronger. I'm not sure.
Well, there's two things. So first, last week there was a misconduct charge because he was caught on film soliciting a woman using narcotics and then
like some crack addict, right?
And then he tells her to hit someone, and she hits him, and then he drives off. And as a result, he was fined. So he wasn't suspended or anything like that, but he was fined, and there was a misconduct charge. And it was a rather large fine. I think it was like a $100,000 fine or something like that. And then this week, he had the positive test. But Frank Warren actually released a statement and said that the substance that he had tested positive for is allowed in off-cycle when you're not training, essentially. and that the British anti-doping agency, or the equivalent of I guess VADA there, has found no wrongdoing in the substance test, and that he had been tested 4 times already, including just days before the positive test, and as a result that he would be able to retain his license and compete because he's not in violation of their regulations. So that was a statement that Frank Warren posted shortly after the test. So I actually initially Dan Raphael had reported that the potential of Billy Joe Saunders being stripped, being fined, being suspended. But at this point, I think he may be in the clear.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be hard for him to get a fight now, though.
Well, he's already got the fight with Demetrius Andrade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, coming up.
Shoot, I wouldn't fight him then.
Well, that's funny. So Demetrius Andrade was at the Bellator thing that happened this weekend, and they interviewed him, and he said it's ammo for his arsenal. You know what I mean? It's fuel for his fire. He said he still wants to fight him, and he just wants to hurt him even worse now than he did before. And he thinks that it's silly that he has to take performance enhancers too.
Well, I've got to look into that actual drug that he's taking, that performance enhancing drug, and see what it's known for, what the benefits are. Because that's total horse crap. You can't you shouldn't be able to take it at any point.
Yeah. So it's one that I'm not as familiar with it as I am with clenbuterol, like when we talked about Canelo and what that substance was for.
But
so I'd have to research.
What do you mean that it's okay to take it when he's like off cycle? When he's not in training camp?
Yeah,
a week before, like 2 weeks before the fight. Does he have like a certain time frame where he has to test clean?
Let me see if I could find it. But Frank Warren basically released a statement, and I'm paraphrasing, but ultimately the gist of the statement was that the particular product that he tested positive for, his verbiage was this: the product concerned is permitted to be used out of competition by the United Kingdom Anti-Doping Agency. So out of competition, it is a permitted product.
Well, what's the definition of out of competition?
That's a good question. I don't know. That will be a regulation that's defined by the British Anti-Doping Agency.
Like if you don't take it the day before, or the day of your fight, or the day before your weigh-in, or you have a training camp. Most training camps are going to be like 8 to 10 weeks, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending. But that's still cheating, because if it helps you to maintain your physical shape, your conditioning in between, and that's unnatural.
I guess what I'm saying is it's not cheating if it adheres to the regulations of the anti-doping agency. Not. You know what I mean? So like, if they reviewed it and said, hey, this is permitted for out of competition, it's according to our regulations, this is allowed, then it's allowed, and anybody else can do it. So it's kind of like,
well, you know what I got to say to that? I say shame on you to the Brits, and and you know what? If they need those drugs just to compete at that high level, then that makes them look bad in my eyes. They're obviously not good enough to beat the Americans, most of the American boxers.
Yeah.
But shame on them, for coming up with off-cycle, non-competition bullshit rules. I mean, you got to keep a level playing field, and then there's a lot of belts over there right now, and then there's a lot of Anthony Joshua, and then Fury and Wilder. The hell with that. I'm getting all patriotic now because I think that's horse crap. Because if they're gonna fight over here, we're gonna be subject to those rules, but or if we fight over there, we're used to our anti-doping rules over here, and then we go over there. It's wow. That's just bullshit. I call bullshit on them. Shame on them, man.
Sensitive topic.
Yeah, that's not cool, man.
But it does appear that he is going to be allowed to continue to compete. So Billy Joe Saunders will be allowed to,
that's all right,
to defend his title.
That's all right, because Canelo will eventually fight him and beat the crap out of him. So
you think that's an easy fight for Canelo? Oh, okay.
No, they can both go in there and with needles in arm or.
They could both go in there. There's an even playing field.
Yeah,
for
there you go.
It's even.
Just juice them up, both of them, and see how good they can get.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But
yeah, so those are the non-fight related topics that occurred
all right.
this week. Billy Joe Saunders, of course, Victor Ortiz, and HBO boxing. So a lot of really negative things here in the. Andrew agrees with you, by the way. He just popped on and said he agrees with you.
I'm right. That's why.
Shit. The thumbnail for this portion of the segment is going to be your picture, and it's going to be the quote, "Shame on the Brits." Just shame on them or whatever.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back and pull that quote for the thumbnail.
You know what, man? And I'm gonna say something right now. Being that those rules are what they are over there, no wonder that Joshua doesn't want to fight over here. And I bet you he won't fight over here for that very reason. And I know that's pretty heavy to say, hey, the dude's on PEDs or anything. You know, that's pretty harsh. But you want to know something? That just makes me lose all respect for them. And then, you know, I don't know, man. AJ, I'm going to say right now, AJ might be on PEDs too.
Oh, man. That's quite a web you've weaved there.
Yeah.
We're getting into conspiracy theory territory, but Andrew said, hell yeah.
I'm right. I'm telling you.
I mean,
but if you look at the history, you know what's unfortunate is that a lot of boxers have been caught using performance enhancing drugs and then other substances, you know, like cocaine and that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
And then it's not like we don't have a history here in the United States of the boxers here getting caught doing drugs and getting caught for performance enhancing. But absolutely, over there they do too. I mean, Ricky Hatton got caught doing cocaine. Even Calzaghe tested positive for cocaine. Even who else? Fury, you know. So, but never mind because
Fury served a 2-year suspension for his though.
Yeah.
So Fury tested positive for essentially an anabolic steroid, and he served a 2-year suspension. So I think that's basically more justice than what happened with Canelo here, for instance.
Yeah.
Fury had to serve a full 2 years on it.
Yeah. Well, that's another point too, because I think Billy Joe should have something happen to him. I think, right?
Yeah, I mean,
some kind of punishment.
Yeah, Canelo essentially got a 6-month suspension that all it did was help his chances.
Yeah, help him rehab his knee.
Yeah, helps him rehab his knee. Makes Triple G 6 months older. He basically got a forgiven use of clenbuterol, and he tested positive twice.
Yeah. Well.
So I think there's some.
Yeah.
On both sides of the fence, it can be a little bit shaky.
Yeah.
On both sides of the pond, there can be some ups
you're
and
right,
downs.
You're right.
And I also have to look at the specific substance and what the intention of it. I don't know what the substance is.
Yeah. So. Well, you know, that's the thing about boxing. There's so many organizations, and there's just nothing is ever so clear, you know. And it's, as much as I love the sport, it's not always about the best fighting the best. A lot of times it's who sells the most tickets, and whoever sells the most tickets is the one that gets, you know, preferential treatment or more promotion, or, you know, that's just how it goes. It's business, unfortunately.
That's an excellent segue,
Yeah.
I think, into the next topic. So let's talk about some of the fights that actually happened this weekend. So Golden Boy did their 3rd Facebook live stream event, which was a successful event. There was actually a lot of action fights, a lot of early knockouts on that card. If you guys didn't get a chance to check it out, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 cards on Facebook Live, one that they didn't televise. But a lot of early knockouts and up-and-coming talented people. It was headlined, of course, by Jorge Linares versus Abner Cotto. So where the segue applies is, I think, to the amount of attention that this fight received compared to the previous Golden Boy Facebook live stream event, which was featured a main event of Ryan Garcia. So I will say that the event did not appear to be sold out. I attended the event. It was a great event, of course, as always at Fantasy Springs. They put on a good show. It were good cards, good matchmaking, generally speaking. So I enjoyed everything about it. I think that the attendance wasn't the same as it was for Ryan Garcia. The atmosphere suffered a little bit as a result of it. And the live stream watches, which I recall being up to 65,000 when we were watching Ryan Garcia, were only somewhere around 17.5, 18,000 during the main event of Jorge Linares. And I think, what are your thoughts on that? Because Ryan Garcia is a big-time ticket seller, apparently, when you look at the views and when you look at everything he brings to it. But from a boxing standpoint, boxing skills, he's not anywhere near the level of a Jorge Linares, and they compete at the same weight class or around. Jorge Linares went up to 140 for this fight and will probably stay there. But Jorge Linares is a supremely talented fighter. I would say at this point in his career, Ryan's career, far beyond the capabilities of a Ryan Garcia, and he just doesn't get the attention.
Yeah, well, I think the fight at Fantasy Springs with Garcia was more of him being a local product, and
that's true. He is local.
I mean, he essentially grew up here in Southern California and boxed here, so I think that was a little bit of a coming out party for him. So I thought that's why he got that's why it was sold out. That's why he got so much attention.
That explains the attendance, for sure, but not necessarily the live stream numbers, which are 65,000 to 17,000.
Well, I think the live stream.
18,000.
Yeah, I think the live stream has more to do with Ryan Garcia, not so much being local, but being like an Instagram. Dude's like an Instagram star.
Well,
right?
Yeah, he's got like 1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus followers on Instagram.
Yeah, so that right there just translates, to easily 1 million Instagram followers are going to translate to 60,000. I think Linares might have maybe 30 or 40,000 Instagram followers. Who knows? We got to check that out. But I mean, he's got the skills. I don't know if Golden Boy has like a really good deal at Fantasy Springs for putting on fights over there.
Great shows over there.
Yeah, I like
card.
it. I like the venue. It's just a far drive. Something I wonder if it would have done better at the Forum, but the Forum's a much bigger place,
in terms of attendance.
Yeah, but there's more people here and it's easier access to a wider audience that could get there like in 5 minutes rather than 2 hours, to Palm Springs. So yeah, that's a tough one, but make no mistake, Linares is incredibly skilled. I'd like to see him fight Mikey Garcia next. I think that'd be a good test for both of them before Mikey even, if he can get through Linares, that'll be a good indicator of where he's at. As far as we all know, he's highly skilled, but that'd be a good indicator of where he ranks, versus like Lomachenko, and then to see if he's good enough to fight Spence.
Yeah, I actually think going up to 140 is a good move for Linares for a number of reasons. One is because, with the exception of Mikey Garcia, who picked up one belt at 140, the other belts are at this point either vacant or owned by people who picked them up because Bud Crawford vacated them. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of ripe for someone to come in and clean up that division, whether it's Mikey or whether it's Jorge. So the other thing it does is it sets up another potential big fight between him and Mikey. And it also sets up a future potential fight between him, a rematch between him and Lomachenko, because Lomachenko has only gone up to 135. So if he picks up a belt at 140, then conceivably to go through that division, Lomachenko would then have to go through Linares again to pick up the belt. And it's a fight that people would want to see because of the knockdown that he scored against Lomachenko.
Do you think Loma would go up to 140? I don't think he'd go up to 140.
To fight Linares, who he already knocked out?
Yeah, even
if he had a belt?
Yeah.
Why not? So if he's already knocked out Linares. Linares had a belt. He'll be X amount of age older. Lomachenko, I think going up to 140 to fight Jorge Linares could probably be one of the biggest fights that he could make outside of Mikey. Why not?
Would he stay there? That's what I.
He doesn't have to.
Yeah, I mean, I see him. He's not tall, Lomachenko. He's kind of short.
He's not, no.
And I don't know. I just wonder how it would affect him overall to go up and then maybe back down or go up and stay there.
I mean, Mikey did it. Mikey went up to 140 and then picked up the belt and then came back down to 135 to pick up another belt just recently within a few months.
Yeah, I mean, like Pacquiao, he kept going up and up and he was successful. I think what was the highest point where Pacquiao got up to?
Against Margarito. So I think that fight probably took place at like a catch weight, like a 150 kind of a weight or something like that. I don't think it was a true 154.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it depends on what these guys walk around at. I'm cutting weight so they're comfortable. Linares at 140 is heavier. That means the punch is heavier. So that does make it intriguing. If he caught Loma once, he could catch him again.
Sure.
But that's why I don't think Loma should go up or would go up. I think he'd say, 135 is good. Let anybody who wants a piece come down here. And he could say, anybody who wants a piece come down. I'm right here,
whether it's
135.
Mikey or whether it's anybody else.
And they've all been at 135, so I think that's totally reasonable.
Build your legacy, though.
Yeah,
to get the belt at 140.
But then again, if Linares can pick up multiple belts, if he can clean up that division or be the so-called undisputed, unattested champ there, just unopposed champ, yeah.
Or even unified, right? Yeah. So let's say he picks up 2 of the belts and Mikey has one, like a unified champion. If you go up to 140 and do it, that's a big move. That's a big move for Loma's career, and it's against the guy he's already beat.
Yeah, and it creates kind of an interesting situation too, because if Linares can't, a lot of this will depend on the promoters, mainly Linares' promoter, what they want to do, but they can find a way to get him those title shots, get those belts. And then, I mean, a rematch with Lomachenko would make lots of sense. And then for Lomachenko, that's a straight pathway to Mikey.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, I mean, not that he needs Lomachenko will have a natural pathway to Mikey I believe he'll be able to beat Pedraza in December.
What's a collision course?
Let's say. So what I mean is he'll have 2 belts at 135 once he picks up the belt from Pedraza, and Mikey will have the other 2 belts at 135. So they're sort of on a natural collision course already. It just so happens that Mikey has a belt at 140. Jorge Linares has now moved up to 140, and I think if Loma wants to conquer another division, stepping into 140 for Linares is just a smart move because it sets up fights with Mikey and Loma, either or.
Well, who's the guy that fought? He's from Bakersfield. I think is Ramirez, right? He's in the same weight division.
Yeah.
He fought. Didn't he fight in the undercard of the G fight? He fought a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but not on the undercard of the Triple G fight.
It was the day before.
It was. Yeah, he fought the day before.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was a great fight.
That was a great fight.
That was a great fight.
I think that's what's going to happen next as far as Linares, but that'll be a great fight. So.
That was a spectacular Orozco, right? That was Ramirez and Orozco.
Yeah.
That was a great fight. I don't even think we got to mention that one before.
Yeah.
So
I think those guys are going to. That's the next fight for Linares. I'm like 99% sure that's going to happen. That'll be a huge seller. That'll put Linares' name out there. Not that his name's not out there, but that's a huge seller because Ramirez is from Bakersfield. So that'll be a sellout fight. And
maybe that's why because this was Linares' first fight in the LA area.
Yeah, so I think it's an introduction.
If they're setting it up so that he can be here and do some things like that and then fight him later, that would be great. And I think the fight with Abner Cotto was, it was an annihilation. I don't know if you saw it at all, but
I was looking for it. I didn't find it.
Oh, man, he absolutely.
I didn't look that hard.
He knocked down Abner Cotto several times before the commission got up on the apron and waved it off. On the last knockdown, Abner Cotto, I guess he felt as though he had received a low blow. And so he turned to the ref to kind of say, like, hey,
do something.
And this was already after 2 knockdowns. He turned and he looked at the ref and motioned to the low blow. And when the ref didn't jump in, Linares just jumped on him, man.
Oh, man.
And then he tried to stay up, ended up pulling Linares to the canvas. And they did like he did like a reverse somersault. Linares did, and stood back up, and Abner Cotto wasn't able to get up to continue.
Oh wow.
You know what's got to be tough? Here's something that I think is tough. The announcers basically introduce Abner Cotto as cousin of Hall of Fame boxer Miguel Cotto, right? So this is, and I think that's kind of like, you remember the other fight where I was saying they introduced the guy as from the hometown of Terrence Crawford, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of on that level, right? Cousin of Hall of Fame
Well, it's
boxer
like the son.
Miguel
It's
Cotto.
like the son of a legend, Chavez Jr.
The son of a legend doesn't seem as bad as his cousin is a Hall of Famer.
Well, if his paycheck was nice, then he probably doesn't feel that bad.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess he doesn't.
I mean, the thing with that though, with you know, his last name is Cotto, so it works both ways. You know, it's he's taking the opportunity that he gets from that name, and then he's being exploited for that name. But, and you know, not that much. You know, he got paid. The thing that bothers me, and I've got to look at what his record is, and not so much the wins, but who he has fought and where he has fought.
Yeah, he was 23-3. I have the bout sheet or whatever.
And probably all those fights were.
Yeah.
Where were they?
Coming into it, they marketed it as saying Abner Cotto had won 5 in a row, and 3 of those 5 were first-round knockouts. But you kind of have to look at who those opponents were that he was facing.
Yeah, what the accumulated win record of those 5 guys is probably like 10 wins and 50 losses. You know, who knows? But, yeah, like you said, that's probably what that was an introduction of Linares to the Southern California fans, priming them for a fight with Ramirez.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So that's probably why they weren't too concerned about, or not that they weren't concerned about selling out tickets, but it just wasn't that big of a fight. And then I guess being the cousin of Cotto is not that big of a draw, you know.
Yeah, exactly. being Miguel Cotto's cousin didn't quite work out.
But he was there, though,
He was
right?
there, yeah.
Yeah, I saw people taking pictures with him. So.
Yeah, I have an interesting story about that. So I took an Uber home from the casino from Fantasy Springs. I took an Uber home, and the Uber driver was telling me, he had asked me, he was not a fan of boxing, and he had asked me if I was at the fights at Fantasy Springs, and I said yes. And he mentioned to me, I drove one of the trainers to the casino yesterday. And I asked him if he knew who the trainer was for, and he said the trainer was for Abner Cotto. He was a guy who trained Abner Cotto. And I said, that's interesting. And we started having a discussion about him, and the Uber driver referred to him as Miguel. And I was like, Miguel was the man's name. And he said, yes. So I pulled up a picture of Miguel Cotto, and I showed it to him, and I said, was this the guy who you drove yesterday to Fantasy Springs? And he said, yes. And I was like, wow, he's not his trainer. That's like first ballot Hall of Famer Miguel Cotto. The guy's fought Floyd Mayweather, Saul Alvarez, all the big names in the sport. A true warrior, like a straight up, you know, like a
legend,
a great
Puerto
fighter.
Rican legend.
The guy was all bummed out that he didn't get a picture taken with him, and then so that's David. Shout out to David, the Uber driver from Fantasy Springs.
That's so funny that Cotto's in the car and he's just like, hi, I'm Miguel. He's like, hey Miguel, what's up? You know, what do you do for a living? I'm a trained boxers. Oh, cool. It's just like an everyday normal conversation, like he's a regular guy. I guess, you know, that had to been refreshing maybe for Miguel Cotto. He's like, this guy doesn't know me.
I know. I sat in the same Uber as Miguel Cotto, just not at the same time. But
That's
I can leave that part out in the future.
That's funny.
It's kind of like we shared an Uber. No, I'm just kidding.
That would have been cool if there was a ride share.
Yeah, a ride share. He's using like a Uber pool
it's
or
for
something.
Discount, right?
The Uber pool. But I'm gonna give some love to some of the other events on that card, just because I was in attendance there. I thought it was a great fight. Thanks to Golden Boy and Fantasy Springs for allowing Beat the Count to have representation at the Golden Boy Fight Night card in Fantasy Springs. So Romero Dunno is a Filipino sensation, 17-1, who scored multiple knockdowns, but his fight went the distance. He knocked his opponent down 3 times in the fight. The thing that was interesting about this one, he knocked his opponent down 3 times, and at the very final bell, it was an 8-round bout. At the final bell, he cracked the guy with a shot that had that fight continued, the guy would not have been able to continue. They they didn't wave it off. He'd already been down 3 times and everything, but he struggled to even get back to his corner at the end of the 8th round. So they say something like they had claimed on Facebook that over 1 million people in the Philippines would be watching that fight.
Wow.
For that fight. So that was the co-main event. Very entertaining fight. Travell Maison, 13-0 from Austin, Texas, who they call Black Magic, a man who had battled with hepatitis, I think it was, and had to take some years off to recover and struggled based on his admission with bad management and coaching and things like that. Made a comeback in spectacular fashion with the first-round knockout and called out Jaime Munguia.
Oh,
I was
wow.
surprised to hear that. So he is now 14-0, and they asked him, who do you want to fight next? And he said, I'm coming for Jaime Munguia. I want Munguia.
Oh, he might just get that with that record.
I thought so, too. The thing that was interesting about it is they had said that, or he had said kind of, it's our time. One of us is going to be able to go to sort of the next level and be at the top of the sport. One of the two of us will be able to do that. And so he kind of said, I want to fight Jaime Munguia to see which one of us that'll be. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, supremely confident.
Really, yeah, because like he's calling out a guy who's sort of building a reputation as, you know, the big puncher, someone who's scary. Yeah, he's trying to build that boogeyman reputation. But if you watch him, he's also someone who has some defensive weaknesses, someone who you can connect with. So in some ways, I think that's interesting. Also, that happens to be Rooster's weight class as well. So
yeah.
We'll see. That could be interesting.
Yeah, 154 has always been a really good weight class. 154, 160. It's always been great.
Yeah. And then stablemate of Jorge Linares, Oscar Duarte, who trained with Linares, fought Roger Gutierrez. Gutierrez quit on his stool after 4 rounds. So a lot of knockouts, a lot of knockouts, early knockouts. There were 2 first-round knockouts.
So everybody that was supposed to win won.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
How interesting.
Everybody who was the A side won last night. There was not any upsets. And for the most part, they won in spectacular fashion or very convincingly, one of the two. But ultimately, it made for a good night of entertaining fights.
Yeah, knockouts are always exciting, but probably the fight card wasn't so compelling. That's why people didn't buy so many tickets.
Maybe,
you know, they looked at the fight card and said, "Oh, there's a lot of A side wins right here." But you know, that's part of boxing, and not to take anything away from the opponents. You know, they're coming to win also.
For sure.
You know,
sometimes they do.
Yeah, sometimes they do. However, you know, these types of matchups are meant to help the fighter improve, get their name out there a little bit more, and create a highlight. So,
but in the case, for instance, of Rooster, would you have considered him the A side or the B side of that fight?
What did he? You know what?
He was an undefeated Golden Boy fighter who was 8-0.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of weird. I think they sacrificed Cabrera a little bit, you know, because you hardly get Rooster was 16-0 and Cabrera was 8-0. So that's kind of a mismatch right there, even if you want to unofficially call Rooster the B side and Cabrera the A side. All right? I mean,
yeah, that's true.
So I kind of feel like there was some negotiation there with the management saying, hey, you know, give us somebody good. And then, you know, just give us somebody good to test our guy so you can see how good he is. But at the same time, you know, Golden Boy's probably like, well, we're going to give him somebody good, but not that good, you know. It's a business move. Not that win wasn't spectacular. Based off of that win, I mean, I think Rooster's going all the way, man.
I hope so.
No, I don't see.
I hope so. Best of luck to him.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean,
I love watching him fight. That's the thing. Is I hope so because of the fact that if it means that I get to watch more Rooster fights and that he's on TV and doing stuff like that, that's great for boxing.
I've never seen
Nico Macias is great for boxing.
Yeah, I've never seen him fight any other way other than
exactly
throw a shitload of punches every round.
For as long as he can do that, he will be great for boxing.
Yeah, and the thing is, I can only imagine him getting better because he's kind of rising to the occasion, and he's stepping up his training every time he's challenged. He wants to train harder and harder and harder. And his dad told me like a few years ago. He says, "Man, he's like this kid doesn't stop." He's like, "I gotta tell him to stop training, because he wants to train all the time, you know." So and you just put the science behind that. You get a guy like Rooster that wants to train all the time, and you get good conditioning, good nutrition. Man, I think he's gonna get a belt. He's gonna get a world title, or at least he's gonna get a shot. And I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
Good luck to Rooster.
Yeah.
So Punches says, "Is Roxy really needed?" I thought they brought on a whole new crew last night.
There's no Slater. AC Slater.
No, AC Slater wasn't there last night.
They brought Screech.
They had Jojo Diaz.
Oh,
instead.
No way.
Yeah. So they had Jonathan Coachman and Jojo Diaz instead. So Roxy wasn't new. The funny thing is there was an interview that Roxy was doing, a post-fight interview, and she was speaking in Spanish.
Okay.
And she kind of halfway through said, "Hey, we need like a real translator because I'm not really good at this."
Oh.
You know what I mean? And so she was trying to do it, but
at least she tried.
Yeah, she made do.
Well, I know a crew that's gonna be looking for a job pretty soon. So.
Oh man, I actually already saw a meme about their translator. Someone had said,
the HBO guy?
Yeah, the HBO guy. Someone had said, at least I don't have to listen to this guy translate Spanish anymore.
Yeah, I said, man, do you remember what he says? Do you remember what he said, though?
What did he say? What?
Well, I think it was Canelo's trainer said something like, "Come on, cabron." Like he said, which that means, basically that means like, "Come on, you son of a bitch, let's do this," you know? But the translator said, "Come on, you bitch."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and then he said something else too, like, "Come on, get your, like you got to go in there." Like in Spanish, they say "con huevos," like with balls, right? And then of course the translator, I think he's just trying to do it so fast he doesn't think about it, and he heard it and he was like, "Come on, put some balls in there."
That was like that was the first meme that I saw. Was about the translator and not having to listen to him at least.
He even did one way before. It was a few years back where sometimes they pull the belt, they pull the trunks and they pour water right in your crotch. It cools you down, right?
Yeah, they do that all the time.
That feels good. But he was. I guess the boxer was asking his trainer. He said. I think he told him in Spanish. He's like, "Cool me down," and of course the translator goes, "Put some water on my balls." So I don't know. I mean, it's good to get a translation, but you don't gotta be like exact.
Yeah. So Roxy's doing okay, I guess, is what we're hearing.
Yeah, as long as she doesn't get too
not
crazy.
Getting too crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
But what would be interesting though, man, is just kind of to go back to the HBO to see where these guys end up, man. Because Lampley's, I don't know if Lampley's in the Hall of Fame. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, Boxing Hall of Fame. I mean, he's been with HBO since the beginning. He's called some huge fights. Max Kellerman, a lot of people like Max Kellerman. Not everybody likes Max Kellerman, but a lot of people do. He has a good fan base. He's very articulate. He's smart. He knows his boxing. He's got to go somewhere, So it's just gonna be interesting to see where these guys go. Roy Jones, he can moonlight on Facebook with some of these Golden Boy fights, and Harold Letterman, he's kind of a character, so you're kind of gonna miss the guy, He has that distinct voice.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure if we'll see much of Harold anymore.
Yeah, he might be.
He might just be retiring.
Yeah, and I think his daughter's a judge, right?
Julie Letterman.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting, but it'd be weird to have Lampley doing the show, The Fight Game, on HBO when they don't have any boxing anymore. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess there's so much boxing going around on these other mediums. The only challenge is that he can't really show clips or anything. You know what I mean? If it's not HBO, because they were never permitted before to show things like highlights of Showtime fights, as an example. which kind of struggled to talk about other events. But
yeah, well, that's the one thing I can't stand as a fan across the board. If there's a big fight and you're just watching the local channel, they never show any highlights whatsoever. It's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
But I guess you could always watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. You can find anything on YouTube.
Yeah,
even
the
Coach
whole
and
fight.
Chris. Yeah. you could find us on YouTube.
Do we show highlights?
No, not yet. Not yet. Let's see. Outside of that, there was some super middleweight metal flying around this weekend. A couple things. So we had the World Boxing Super Series final.
Yeah,
George
another one.
Groves versus Caleb Smith. And I will say one thing that's good for DAZN is I got to watch that fight without having to do some weird YouTube pirating and stuff like that. So I'd been previously complaining about the fact that it's difficult to find World Boxing Super Series fights.
Yeah.
So I was able to watch that using the DAZN app. So George Groves and Caleb Smith. Of course, Caleb Smith victorious with a 7th round knockout on a good catch and shoot little left hook of George Groves.
There was a lot of good boxing. I can't lie. I didn't see anything this week,
yeah,
man.
So George Groves threw a
a
hook, and Caleb Smith, just caught it. He blocked it here and just turned straight back out with another hook. Like immediately, the second the shot hit his arm, he
wasn't that the same
shot out
punch
another
that
hook.
Frost
Boom.
knocked him out with, though?
It might have been,
It's like the same thing, isn't it?
but that's what stunned him, and then he kind of followed up on it and hit him a couple times, and he went down. So 7th round stoppage, the Muhammad Ali Trophy. A super middleweight world title, all went to Caleb Smith. So the Smith brothers, finally they got someone at that elite level.
Nice.
Caleb Smith. And then
Congrats.
Congrats to Caleb Smith. And along with that, we also had another super middleweight champion, Jose Uzcategui, who participated but not in a super middleweight championship bout. He had a 10-round bout with an unranked contender because he was unable to secure a ranked opponent. And he won a 10-round decision, which there are some interesting things about this fight I want to ask you. So he won a 10-round decision against Ezequiel Maderna. And Ezequiel Maderna, while a good opponent, is perceived as that, just an opponent, someone who's being fed to him because he couldn't find a ranked contender. They tried to get people like Gabe Rosado to move up and fight him. They wouldn't. James DeGale actually dropped the belt so that he would not have to fight. He vacated the belt so he would not have to fight Uzcategui. So he then goes 10 rounds. He wins all the rounds, but he isn't able to put the guy away. And so the question kind of comes up in the post-fight interview about going 10 rounds, going to decision, not being able to knock out someone who's perceived as a lesser opponent. And Uzcategui's response was that it was intentional, that he wanted to bait the other super middleweights, and particularly the other super middleweight champions, so Gilberto Ramirez, David Benavides, and these guys. He wanted to bait them. He wanted to look weaker, essentially, so that they would be more willing to fight him. And as an independent, someone who's not managed by Top Rank or anything, he can fight any other super middleweight in the division. What do you think the likelihood is of that being true versus just not putting on a good performance?
It's totally possible, especially if he feels and he knows that he's that much more superior of a boxer than the other guy. You want to get your rounds in too, good sparring is hard to find.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good sparring is hard to find. Getting your rounds is important. I've seen that happen before. Yeah, that's totally possible. I think as far as baiting the other guys, maybe not. I mean, that could be a good excuse. It's a great excuse actually for not being able to knock the guy out, but it's totally believable because as a trainer, if you had a good training camp, or if you just want to work on some stuff, and if the guy doesn't have a lot of punching power, if he can't really hurt you, you say, hey, just work on your craft and outbox this guy. Let's get some rounds in. Work our cardio, get in better shape, learn some more things. And yeah, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of baiting an opponent, the only thing I think that's peculiar about it is you probably shouldn't tell people that. Right?
Yeah, that's
so
the other thing.
Like,
yeah.
if the true thing is, if what you're saying is, hey, I intentionally went 10 rounds because I wanted to bait people into
that doesn't work anymore. Right?
Yeah, if you're saying that, then it doesn't help. Right,
Yeah.
like the idea is to make people think that you look vulnerable,
Yeah.
and you don't look vulnerable if what you're saying is, "Hey, I just toyed with a guy for 10 rounds." So
Well, yeah, now
it
just sounds like an excuse. Though.
Yeah, it just sounds like an excuse.
Yeah,
like he didn't perform well, and it's the type of fight where if you look at it and you're like, if you're James DeGale, and you said, "Hey, that fight's not big enough to warrant me taking the risk of fighting a Jose Uzcategui," which is why he dropped the belt, essentially, right? He drops the belt because he says, "No, I don't. That's a dangerous fight for me to take, and it's not big enough." Right? So if you're James DeGale, you might look at that and go, I shouldn't have dropped my belt.
Yeah, get my belt back.
Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't have dropped the belt. Or if you're Gabe Rosado and you didn't want to move up in weight, you might look at that and go, I should have took that. I should have moved up and fought Uzcategui.
I don't think Gabe's got knockout power, though, at that weight class.
Yeah, he may not. I mean, I don't think he's ever competed at that weight class, but it's also he seemed game to do it. He talked a lot on Twitter about it because people were criticizing him for not taking the fight. But at that point in time, he said that he didn't take the fight because it was in Tijuana, and he would take the fight if it wasn't in sort of Uzcategui's hometown, in his backyard. And but this fight was actually in Oracle Arena. It was in Oakland. So I'm not sure what transpired with Rosado and those guys, but
well, that makes sense for Gabe to say that because he's been robbed a few times.
Yeah, so. Gabe said the money wasn't all that, and he would love to fight him in the States, but the fight ended up being in the States. So I'm not sure how that transpired. Originally, I guess they had offered Gabe Rosado a fight in Tijuana.
Yeah, well, you're right, man. I think if you want to bait your opponents into fighting you, then don't tell them that that you just baited them.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't tell them that.
That kind of works against you. So then it could have been an excuse, but like I said, it's something that I have seen fighters do when they want to get their rounds in. Yeah. But usually they get their rounds in, tire the guy out, and then knock him out like right at the last minute.
Yeah, I think the time that I have seen, like Tyson Fury in his most recent fight, kind of said, "Hey, I needed the rounds." Mm-hmm. And I believe that he needed the rounds. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. Like he's coming off getting ready for a fight with Deontay Wilder, and is essentially saying like, I needed to go 10 rounds. Like I needed this for my conditioning to see that I could do it, and he did. Uzcategui seemed more like an excuse because he's saying, I was just trying to bait people.
Yeah, maybe the guy was tougher than it looked. You know, just even if the the champion or the A side is a much better boxer, sometimes the challenger is just tougher, or he has a little bit of a different style that gives the other guy fits, So
yeah, I think there are a couple matchups also that were announced this week that I wanted to run. So one, I think that you'll be excited about, Shields and Hammer. Did you see that one?
Oh, no, I didn't.
November 17th.
That's awesome. Where's that going to be? I want to go.
I'm not sure. I didn't see
be
where it was
on the East Coast.
But Shields and Hammer was November 17th.
That seems like a good fight considering how Clarissa got dropped the last fight.
I know, it actually kind of made me think that Hammer might take this one.
Yeah, we'll see. That
she was dropped early too.
I think that's gonna be the biggest female boxing fight ever to date.
You think so?
I think so. I don't know which one would be comparable or which one was bigger. Christy Martin back in the day versus I don't know who.
Yeah, I mean they're 2-2 with the belts, right? They each have I think
two? So.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think they're competing for like the undisputed championship, I believe. So
that's gonna be huge. Is that a main event or is that an undercard?
I don't know. I just saw the announcement that on November 17th, that would be the fight. But I thought you would be excited about that one.
Yeah,
that's a big fight.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait. Finally. Been waiting for that one for months.
That's the fight that we've been asking for.
Yeah.
And the other one is a fight we haven't been asking for, which is Martinez versus Chavez Jr. 2, November 17th.
Really?
That's what they say.
Sergio Martinez?
That's what they
Or is it another Martinez?
Sergio Martinez. That is the Martinez. That's the one
I'm
I'm
like, is there another
to.
Martinez?
It's okay. So I keep seeing posts about it. People have posted
Wow.
it. News organizations and things like that have posted it, but I haven't seen anything that leads me to believe that it's fully official. But there is a date associated with it that corresponds with the fact that Sergio Martinez reapplied for his license, the fact that he said he was interested in fighting in November, and the fact that DAZN had been courting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. for a potential fight in the future.
Wow.
So the thought is that on November 17, Sergio Martinez, that's right, that one, Sergio Martinez will compete against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. If you believe the noise, in Texas, I believe.
Nice.
In Texas, I believe, on DAZN.
Well, it's always nice to see Texas fans get their fights. We get so many out here in Cali, and then in Vegas. Texas needs to get some fights, but I don't know. Chavez Jr. might really need some money, and maybe Martinez too, or he's
DAZN really needs some fights.
They need some fights. That's what that is.
DAZN has plenty of money and needs fights in America,
and then Chavez needs money. And, Sergio's probably he's had some time off. And, one of the best things for boxers is to rest and heal.
The knee injury and all that stuff.
And that's, he probably would have kept boxing if his knee didn't, give out.
Although you could argue that even if he kept boxing, he'd probably be retired by now, which is he's 43 years old. Yeah,
but as you say, science and athletes are much better these days, right? So they can take care of themselves a lot better.
I think that does apply to him.
Yeah.
Meaning, I think...
and he's always been kind of like that, right?
He's athletic. He's someone who's always been an athlete. He didn't even start competing in boxing until he was in his 20s. He was like a cyclist. So I believe that in terms of staying in shape and things like that, I don't imagine that he's coming from a different place. Although I do think that they're going to be competing, from what I've read, which none of this may be true, but why I
heard it here first.
Yeah, why I keep throwing that disclaimer out there, because it seems so wild. Like, it just seems wild, right?
Yeah.
So I keep reading it, and everything says that it's true, but I'm still not sure that it is.
Yeah.
But they would be competing at super middleweight this time, so at 168.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool. That'd be pretty interesting. But for me, the big thing is which Chavez Jr. will show up.
There's more than one Chavez Jr.?
Yeah. Sometimes, is it the one that showed up in the last round in their first fight? Is it the one that showed up at the Canelo fight that didn't do anything, didn't try? Is it the one that early on in his career he showed some flashes of greatness and a lot of potential? Which one's going to show up,
I feel like
he's in need of redemption, my friend.
He is, but I feel like early on, I wouldn't describe what I saw in him as flashes of greatness so much as I would describe it as
competency.
No, I would describe it as a much, much bigger man just laying waste to much smaller men. So it's a guy who's coming in on fight night at 180, fighting at 160, and devastating people without defense. So essentially just walking through to take a shot to give a shot kind of technique, which worked at 160. But then when he struggled to make 160 and had to start going to 175, 168, he was getting eaten alive because all of a sudden the punches matter. Like you're not getting hit by smaller dudes anymore. You're getting hit by guys who are the same size.
For sure, but there was a couple fights in there where he was challenged and it was pretty even on the size. I can't recall the guy's name. I can't, man. I had it on the tip of my tongue, but and then that last round against Martinez, that's what he can do if he applies himself. That's what he can do, and he's got a hell of a chin. We know that. I mean, he'll take a beating, but and he's got power, and we've seen moments where he's thrown punches. He's thrown punches in combinations. He's strung them together, very reminiscent to how his dad would put punches together, work to the body, back up to the head, finish with a straight down the middle. You've seen it, but He's another one of those figures in boxing that's just not to be harsh, but he's been a letdown.
Yeah, I would have to check CompuBox on that last fight against Canelo, but I'm pretty sure he threw 0 punches. Don't quote me on that, but CompuBox has to be floating somewhere around 0 punches.
Yeah, he's got to be in the single digits per round. All right, like how many jabs? 1. Anything else? No.
That's it. That's all he's got.
Yeah,
peekaboo style. Oh man, but yeah. So I thought those were 2 interesting matchups that I wanted to add.
People will watch it.
Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, I'm gonna watch it. And you know what's funny is I still think Sergio has got a shot.
I think Sergio's gonna kick his ass again. He's gonna old man strength beat him. He's just gonna
old man strength.
No, he's got experience. He's let's face it, Sergio Martinez is a true professional, a true champion. He's had some amazing fights. He's dismantled other great fighters. He's a whole nother level above Chavez Jr. in terms of boxing ability.
I wish I had the opportunity to interview Miguel Cotto at the event last night because this is the exact topic I would have brought up.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just curious to get his take on it and see if it makes him interested in competing again,
I think he would be interested in competing, but
like if Martinez wanted a rematch.
Well, you know what? I think Cotto, Cotto dismantled him, but dude, Sergio had 1 leg.
Yeah, exactly.
His leg was going out from the beginning. I mean, it kept like buckling and he had no chance, and it wasn't for lack of trying or lack of skill. His leg was giving out.
Yeah,
so
and this is what
it wasn't a fair fight.
That's why I'm curious if he was able to be successful in a fight against Chavez, if Cotto would be
take the fight, a rematch,
in a rematch
Hell
with
yeah.
Sergio Martinez.
I don't see why not. I mean, hey, look at when Mayweather and Pacquiao fight again for ungodly amount of money, right? What's this? Mayweather said he's making how many figures, how many zeros?
I don't know.
You know how he brags about it, but
yeah.
If Mayweather and Pacquiao can make that much money, then Martinez and Cotto will be like, hey, let's do it again. How's your knee?
Yeah.
Good. How's your bicep? Pretty good.
Let's do it.
Yeah, there you go.
And it'll be on DAZN. No.
Well, why not, man?
That's what they have to do. They have to find some way to put fights on in America.
Well, he's got an interesting problem, right? He's got money to spend,
but no fighters really in the stable on the American side. Yeah.
But convincing fighters to fight isn't hard if you've got money.
I guess so, but he's had a hard time of it so far. He's had a hard time of it.
Well, I'd say give him some time.
Yeah.
Give him some time.
This is kind of how they start with like the Bellators and stuff like that. They take the old veterans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
didn't Rampage and Vanderlei fight the other?
They did.
Dude, I didn't see. Hey, there was a lot of fighting this weekend.
They fought this weekend.
Yeah, and I think Rampage
won.
knocked them out, right?
Rampage won. Yeah.
That's good for Rampage because he's. I don't know. I think his last couple fights he didn't look so good, but.
Yeah. So they're 2-2 now. I think so. Maybe they'll go again. Let's go a fifth time.
Well, what's the next big old man fight, which is
old man fight.
Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz.
Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell's been retired for like 8 years. He has. He's been retired for a really long time.
Tito's got to be like what 41, 42,
I don't know.
Maybe 40, and then Chuck's got to be.
Chuck's been retired for
50,
ages, man.
55.
Yeah. Well,
it's hard. Fighters don't want to quit, man. And when you got to that level and you've gotten so good and you've had mega fights and you made a ton of money, it's not very difficult to convince you. Like, hey, you want another big payday? Oh, kind of old, but okay.
Like, why not?
What about the other guys? He old? Okay, I'll fight him too. If he's old, I'll fight him.
And a big name. He has to be old and a big name.
Yeah,
right.
If he's old and a big name, just like me, then I'll fight him.
Oh man. Yeah, I called it the fight that nobody wants to see, but that's me being harsh. Realistically, I'm totally going to watch it if they do it. If they do it, I'll be on DAZN that evening watching Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and Sergio Martinez. You
know what? A billing for the fight is not the fight that nobody wants to see. It's more like the fight that we'll watch.
Yeah.
The
fight will turn on.
Yeah. It's not like we didn't ask for it. We're not opposed to it. We'll watch it.
We'll watch it.
Yeah.
It's the fight that we'll watch.
Yeah.
That's basically any fight for me, though. That's the thing. That's a low bar for me. I'll watch pretty much any fight. Oh, man. That's all I got for today.
Oh man. There was some fights on the Spanish channel. Some Box Azteca. I didn't see that, but there was
All Star Boxing had an event on,
Yeah.
and I didn't get a chance to check it out. They live stream on Facebook, so you can check out All Stars event.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys get a chance, you can go to All Star Boxing on Facebook, and they will have their event live stream. See the great Jim Fitzgerald.
Yeah, your uncle. Yeah, he is awesome, man. He's consistent, you know. That's what's good.
Yeah.
A lot of these announcers, you don't see them all the time, so you don't get to know them. But you know, you see him all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 3 Golden Boy events to figure out that the tagline that Jeremiah Gallegos is using is "It's golden time." I think that's what he says. It's golden time.
Oh,
But it took like the first 2 times I was like, "What did he say?" But I think it's golden time. Leave a comment if you guys know what Jeremiah Gallegos is saying, but I'm pretty sure he says it's
What
golden
does
time.
Jim say? He says, "All right, fight fans, here we go."
His is "Here we go."
Yeah, there we go.
It's like a really long drawn out "Here we go."
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
What are let's go over them. What are the
Did you see Buffer signed with DAZN? Do you know that, by the way?
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah. He's their official announcer.
That's good for him because he's getting up there in age. He's been around for a long time.
So Michael Buffer, he doesn't have to worry about the HBO thing.
Of course.
He's DAZN's official announcer.
Yeah. Well, he's considered the best, right, out of everybody?
That's what they say.
Yeah. Will I get charged if I say let's get ready to rumble?
Probably. That was just a copyright right there, I think.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
50 cents.
Yeah, I think, well, Jimmy Lennon did, when he was on Showtime, he does it Showtime.
Okay.
Right? But when he's not on Showtime, I think he does it's Fight Time.
Okay.
You know, the long drawn out, it's Showtime. Yeah. So that's Jimmy Lennon. Then obviously Michael Buffer does his.
And then Bruce Buffer says, "It's time." He jumps.
I have no comment on Bruce Buffer.
He like jumps out of his shoes and
Golden time. Punches confirmed it for me. Punches said it's golden time is the is Jeremiah Gallegos.
all right. Who else is out there? I don't know.
There's the I don't know his name. Well, there's a couple people. So there's ¿Quién es el más macho?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? That's a good one. I like that line a lot.
That's a good one.
But so there's him. The guy, his name is escaping me. The guy with the dreadlocks.
Oh, that's right.
Who has the really long dreadlocks.
Yeah.
He does the from the 4 corners of the world to the 4 corners of this ring.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's his.
We need like a graph or something, or like a chart
There's
with a picture of the
dude with
guy.
dreadlocks, but I like ¿Quién es el más macho?
Yeah, that's a good
that
one.
One's a good one. Yeah.
That's an old school one too. I think that was in. I remember seeing a very old movie or seeing an old fight where they said that he's picking it up from
a long time ago.
Yeah, from a long time ago.
He does it well though. He's he's a good announcer.
Yeah,
for sure. And he does a lot of local stuff here too. Like, doesn't he do I think he does Thompson boxing events a bunch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I'm not sure. That's it. I think that's all I got.
Those are the main ones.
and now it's golden time.
I don't know about that one.
You don't like that one? You're not a fan. I'm not even sure what it means, really.
Yeah, what does that mean? You can say a lot of stuff about golden times. It's a little weird.
Stay gold.
That might be better right there. I mean, or I don't know.
And come up with my
Who's
own.
in it for the gold? I don't know. It's hard. I mean, it's got to be hard to come up with that.
It's got to be hard to come up with one.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should just do a compilation of us trying to come up with a new tagline, a new announcer tagline.
You know, it'd be funny if we reenacted each one's line, like did our best.
We'll take turns.
Yeah. I mean, we could. That'll kill like 5 to 10 minutes.
We'll do it in the ring next time.
Yeah. Oh, dude, no problem.
We'll get up in the ring with the mic. I'll get the handheld.
Yeah.
And we'll do it in the ring.
We should try it. Hey, and then people can send videos of them trying. See who does it better.
We'll do like a compilation of people doing
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, send it in, guys. If
I'll post it.
you want to be the next announcer, send it in. We'll create our own compilation, and then the big promoters can look through it and if they like anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun.
There's so many streaming services now. You guys might have a shot. Who knows?
Yeah, there's jobs out there, guys.
Yeah. There's definitely jobs on it.
That's funny.
Oh man. Good times.
You know what? The women's USA boxing team, they fought in Europe. I think they fought in Spain. I can't remember if it was like a world tournament or limited amount of countries, but I believe almost all of the girls, I heard 6 gold medals, 2 silvers, and 1 bronze.
Congratulations to them.
Yeah, and
crushing it.
Yeah, and I remember way back, like in episode 2 or 3, I said that our women's boxing was pretty strong, especially for the amateurs. I'm going to say that this upcoming Olympics, our women's boxing team is going to dominate in the Olympics. I'm going to predict that they're going to come out with the most gold medals for the females in boxing.
That would be awesome.
Their team is ridiculously skilled right now.
Yeah, congratulations to them.
Yeah,
for putting that together. Yeah, I mean kind of goes back to you remember we were talking when they did the HBO did the special on Cuban women's boxing and how their women aren't allowed to compete in the Olympics.
Why would they have a team?
Yeah,
then?
it's crazy. I don't know.
We're gonna make a national team, but you can fight.
Yeah, it's silly. But I made a comment once on here. I never brought this back up, but I made a comment that I thought women should fight 3-minute rounds, which I still think that, by the way. I think at the professional level. At the professional level, I think women should fight 3-minute rounds. And in a lot of ways, I think it's actually a disservice to the fighters. They don't get the opportunity to finish opponents. In some cases, I think 2 minutes it's what they fight at the amateur level. So there's not a big distinction between the amateur and professional in terms of time, except for the amount of rounds. And so I've kind of been an advocate for fighting 3-minute rounds. So I found out, though, that the reason that they do not allow women to fight 3-minute rounds in the state of California is because there's a study that shows how concussive force impacts women and the amount of time that it takes women to heal, or not women necessarily, but people with high levels of estrogen, so women, how it takes longer to heal from concussive blows. And as a result, they don't allow women to fight 3-minute rounds.
It's the I guess it's the estrogen that's the reason.
I believe, based on what I read, I believe
not
they
like
said
bone density.
It's not. No, they said high levels of estrogen leads to, in general, healing taking a longer time. But in particular, this study was focused on recovering from concussion or concussive blows. And this is why in the state, well, in most states, not just California, but in most places, women are not allowed to fight 3-minute rounds. And I understand the study, but at the same time, I think that, I mean, they can suffer concussive blows in 2-minute rounds. So I'm not really, I'm not really sure. You know what I mean? I don't exactly understand the logic. Like, I understand the study, but I mean, what's the difference between saying like that and saying women shouldn't be allowed to fight because it takes longer to heal? They're professionals. At some point, I think that they should get to determine or a say, you know, in what, like when Sinisa Estrada was here and she said she thinks she should get to fight 3-minute rounds. I feel like the women in boxing should have a say in that, shouldn't they? Shouldn't they get to say that? I mean, I don't understand. It's sort of, I think they're taking a risk, and all fighters take that kind of risk with their health and their lives. It's what they train to do, and if they're okay with it, in some respects, I think they should be allowed to do it. You know? So,
well, you know, it's not that it's new to women, but female boxing is growing in popularity, and I think in the years to come we'll see an evolution of of, how it's played out, the rules and that type of stuff. And with the fight with Hammer and Shields, if that's a big draw, if that's a good fight, if that's competitive, then that just gives more power to the female boxers as far as dictating the rules in which they do combat. Yeah, I mean, a punch hurts like in the first minute just as much as in the last minute.
Yeah, that's sort of the.
Sometimes it hurts more because you're fresh.
I would echo that sentiment. Like, I mean, they're taking damage at all time. I mean, if they're in the 10th round, in the second minute of the 10th round, are they not taking damage? Like, I don't understand. So I think I don't quite get the logic. I understand the study, and I get that it's more difficult for them to heal, but I also feel like if predominantly the women who are competing in the sport feel as though they're capable of doing that and that they want to be competing in that way, that we should take that into account.
Well, in MMA, how many minutes?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure.
I think in championship fights, the women fight 5 minutes.
They're fighting 5 minutes.
So with 4-ounce gloves. So
I don't know how I'm not sure of the conditions or the rationale, but I think it's something that, to me, it seems like something that needs to change. And I understand the study, but I'm not sure that it's a compelling enough argument to say that women shouldn't be able to compete if that's what they want to be able to do for that time period. I'm curious though what other people think. That's what I found is that particular study, and I think it applies to the California State Athletic Commission. I don't know how it applies to other states, but if you guys have other information on why women don't get to compete, feel free to shoot me a note on Facebook or comment or something, because I don't quite understand why.
I should know this, but I'm wondering if the women in the Olympics wear headgear. I think they do, but the males don't wear headgear
anymore.
Yeah,
that's relatively new though. The headgear for men.
Yeah.
But
I'm wondering, and I should know it. I'm probably got it some rule book at my house, but I think the females do wear headgear still in the amateurs. But I think once you lace them up, man, once you're a qualified boxer, I mean, once you've had a bunch of fights, then, doesn't matter. Punches hurt, and then high-level boxers are so accurate with their punches. I mean, if you got headgear, they hit you right on the nose. If you don't have headgear, doesn't make that much of a difference.
True. Former Beat the Count guest, Daniel Velez, checking in. What's up, Daniel? What's going on?
What's up?
Yeah, what's up?
I haven't talked to Daniel in a long time.
Yeah, we still have to do the Pacquiao Horn breakdown. I still want to do it.
Oh, I was thinking about that fight the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
Pacquiao Horn breakdown?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I'm still convinced that Horn won that fight.
Oh, man.
I was like, Pacquiao maybe got 4 rounds.
Man. Yeah, we need to make a segment out of that, and I'll post that on YouTube. You're not going to get some you'll get unfavorable comments, I guarantee.
It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah, he just said the same thing. We have to do the revisited episode. 100%. I'm 100% on board with that, Daniel.
Well, it's funny, Horn.
But you have to bring another judge, though. You have to bring someone who agrees with me too. So that we get both. He said he had a friend. He had a friend who was on the Pacquiao
commission
side.
Oh, okay.
Who was also a judge.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to bring another judge, though.
Well, Horn was in the media the other day saying that if he fought Terrence Crawford again in Australia, he'd beat him. Things would be different.
Because he's in Australia only.
Yeah, I don't know why he would say that.
The fight wouldn't turn out any different. Well, maybe his toe wouldn't hurt this time.
Is that what it was?
Oh, you didn't hear that?
Phantom toe?
Oh, my God.
Turf toe?
After that fight, his trainer said something like he only brought one pair of running shoes, and they were new. He didn't have the other, blah, blah, blah. And so it caused, like, blisters on his toes, and that's why he wasn't as mobile in the fight as he would have. It was like... Yeah,
dude, I got kids in here that when they get blisters, they just put tape on it and they keep training, and they look just fine. Boxing.
Well, apparently that was enough to.
No, when somebody wins, you never hear about their injury. When somebody loses, it's like everything hurts. It's complete garbage.
Especially their toe.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal excuse right there.
Oh, is that what he said?
Shaq used to sit out games because of his big toe.
Yeah, but his toe is like the size of Kentucky, though. So.
Oh, man. What else? Is that all you got tonight, Coach?
Yeah, just looking forward to upcoming fights. I think I saw something for Uzcategui where he might fight Caleb Plant.
Well, yeah, that's his mandatory, I think.
Oh, nice.
Caleb Plant is his mandatory, and then after that, he wants Gilberto Ramirez.
Okay, so Uzcategui's got a belt, right?
Yeah.
Which one?
Let me double check. I can't remember.
ABC, CBS, NBC.
He's getting it. Yeah, that's the one.
The ZZZ.
It's I can't remember if it's the super or the the regular.
Well, that's going to be a good fight because Caleb Plant's been.
It is the IBF. It is the world. So it's the IBF World Super Middleweight title.
Oh, very nice. That's the opportunity that Caleb Plant's been looking for a long time. Like you remember, one of our guys fought him in Caleb's fourth fight, and that guy's been a stud from day one. I think he was an Olympic alternate. He had about 190 something amateur fights. He actually was a kickboxing champion for a few years before he turned pro in boxing. He's got amazing footwork. He's got a killer jab. He's been calling out everybody on social media. So I just saw him post something today about fighting Uzcategui. So that'll be a good fight. He dismantled Porky Medina pretty easily. We'll see. I mean, he's quick. He's fast. He's got them. He calls himself sweet hands. But so I'm looking forward to see because he's been talking a lot of game, talking himself up that he's going to be the king of that division. So I really want to see if he can actually do it.
Yeah, so he's the mandatory, so we'll definitely get to see that one next. And then depending on the result of that one, Uzcategui has indicated that he would like to fight Gilberto Ramirez or unify with Gilberto Ramirez.
Well, he's got to get past
Caleb Plant first, though.
Yeah. It's always bad when you're looking too far ahead. Just next person, just line them up, but one at a time. You don't look too far ahead.
Daniel asked what our take was on Canelo and Triple G, too.
We've got 2 videos on that. You got to watch it.
We got a bunch of videos on it.
We'll spend another 40 minutes.
Yeah, we can't. We'll be here for another hour. We'll be here for another hour if we start that discussion. But check out, we have like a 30-minute reaction video, and then there's a couple videos that follow that that we cut from one of our other episodes.
But boxing experts like myself say Canelo won.
Oh man, good times.
And boxing analysts like yourself say Triple G won, or it's a draw maybe.
That could be, yeah.
It was close.
Andrew says it's worth watching. So Andrew, I saw your comment on that, by the way, and I think what you said was it was a good fight, which I think we both agree with. It was a good fight.
Hell of a fight.
I didn't see where you land on it. So I'm still curious.
You know what?
You have to pick a side here. This is Coach versus Chris.
You know what's disappointing? As good of a fight as it was, and as highly contested as it was, as far as the scoring or who won.
He got Triple G, by the way.
No, yeah, well,
Andrew put it up.
It wasn't a fight of the year.
I suppose not.
Yeah, it wasn't
It was a really good fight, though.
Yeah,
it was.
But it wasn't the Ramirez fight versus
that was closer to that one is a candidate for fight of the year.
Yeah,
the Orozco fight.
Yeah. So if they do get together again and do the third one, I really hope they let it all hang out. I really do. Because there's only one way to settle the score with those two guys, and that's with somebody hitting the canvas at least once.
Yeah.
And that's hard to imagine, though. I think it'd be heartbreaking for me to see Canelo hit the deck just because.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's.
Did you feel that way when Pacquiao finally got it from Marquez?
Oh, actually, no. Because my neighbors are Filipino, and then, all the Mexicans were at my house. And what's crazy? When Marquez knocked him out, everybody in the house jumped up and said, "Viva Mexico!" Everybody went crazy, man.
I bet your neighbors love that. Yeah.
But I mean, they, I mean, you gotta. At that point, you had to be rooting for Marquez because he's tried so hard and then he came so close, and you get dropped early in the fights. Pacquiao builds a lead.
Too. He dropped Pacquiao too, though, in that fight.
Oh yeah, but that was such a good fight. But after we all jumped up and cheered, like for 30 seconds, after that we stopped and looked at Pacquiao and we're like, "Is he dead?"
Yeah. That was a solid knockout.
That one's
one of my favorites.
That's one of
my all-time favorites.
That's one of the best of all times. And what's interesting is that is a boxing great, and that doesn't really happen to the boxing greats where they get just completely flattened. That usually happens to their opponent.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time a boxing great got destroyed like that.
Juan Manuel Marquez you could say is another of the greats. I mean, he's up there, dude. He's pretty good. He's not just anybody.
No, he's one of my favorite technical boxers
he's
because
not just anybody.
Yeah. What I said, that one guy, remember? I said it before. I think it was his last Juan Diaz, Baby Bull.
Juan Diaz, yeah.
Yeah, there when he fought him,
he had 2 fights with Juan Diaz.
Yeah. And Baby Bull was undefeated at the time. I think he had just beat, I'm not sure if he beat the Cuban guy or that was after. Anyways, Baby Bull was a hell of a fighter and undefeated, maybe 25-0 at the time, and Marquez totally schooled him. Took him about 4 to 6 rounds to figure him out, but then he dismantled him. So he's a real teacher of boxing. He's a real master. Like just his combinations, the way he works the body, and he goes ahead. It's just the way he controls distance and his timing and counters. Excellent boxer.
I know I talk about it a lot, so I'll just leave it to you. You said all the things that I normally say about Juan Manuel Marquez.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. We'll do a little role reversal there. Yeah, he's pretty good. Oh man,
I agree. Wrap it up.
I guess so.
We could talk boxing.
We could, yeah.
Forever.
But
well, hey, the next one we got to do are our versions of the ring announcers. All right,
okay.
So bring the mic.
I'll have a go at it,
and we'll give it a try.
Team Chris, I appreciate you, Andrew.
Oh man,
getting it.
All right, we'll see.
Oh man,
if I could do a Bruce Buffer, I think I'll get into that one.
I could do Bruce Buffer, and then I would lose my voice and not be able to do anything else for the next. Terrible. All right, guys. Well, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and of course the podcast. If you need to listen to past episodes, it's now on iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, Podbean. So we're everywhere, man.
Everywhere.
Yeah, we're everywhere. Just get at us however you need to. If you need to send us a message or you want to hear us discuss a specific topic, hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Or, of course, you can email us at theteam@beatthecountpodcast.com.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for this evening on Beat the Count. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining in and participating.
So long.
Peace.